I'd love to talk about Bitcoin and your view of crypto assets, and then maybe back into kind of tying things up with convergences among technologies. You mentioned that a little earlier, Elon, and the impact ultimately of all of this on economic growth longer term, the surprises that might come from there. But first Bitcoin.
이번 주 방주 투자 CEO이자 창립자인 캐시 우드가 트위터에서 일론 머스크와의 인터뷰를 주최했죠. 캐시는 일론에게 다양한 질문을 던졌습니다. 2024년에 관한 일론의 생각과 인공지능의 미래, 마지막으로 비트코인에 대한 최근 생각 등이죠. 일론 머스크는 테슬라를 통해 2021년 마이클 세일러의 발자취를 따라 15달러어치의 비트코인을 사서 50억 달러어치 비트코인이 75달러에 팔렸죠. 비트코인 손실로 2022년 전체의 10%를 잃고 현재 보유량은 10,000개에 가깝습니다. 약 4억 500만 달러죠. 아이러니하게도 지금까지 정부 보관했다면 다시 수익을 냈을 겁니다. 일론 머스크는 비트코인 암호화폐에 대해 지금까지 말을 안 했습니다. 일론은 트위터를 금융 결제 앱으로 만들겠다고 합니다. 자신이 좋아하는 암호화폐를 어떻게든 이용할 거라고 하죠. 캐시 언니의 인터뷰를 들어보죠.
When you put it, or Tesla put it on its balance sheet, there was, I remember afterwards, there was this backlash in terms of its economic impact, all of the energy usage and so forth. And then as part of the seminar that we did, that you participated in, Elon, we and Block had come up with this notion that, wait, you put Bitcoin mining into a utility ecosystem, so that if there's a storage unit and the intermittent energy, the storage unit's full, the sun is still shining, the excess power goes over to Bitcoin, and you can mint Bitcoin and overbuild solar and wind and renewables and all of that. So that argument against Bitcoin, and Larry Fink himself used it quite vociferously for a long time until recently. That is going away. What do you think about Bitcoin's potential impact on the financial system, the monetary system, financial services generally?
Well, I have to say I don't spend a lot of time thinking about cryptocurrency, hardly any at all. I have thought for a long time about money and the nature of money. What is money?
Yes.
And it's really a database for resource allocation is the way to think about money, in my view. Now, fiat currency is actually fine as a database for resource allocation if you have a predictable money supply and it doesn't doesn't get inflated or deflated too much.
If it's rules-based.
If it's rules-based, and provided government does not too much abuse their privilege to create more money. Some amount of abuse is almost is guaranteed to happen, but it can go too far. The temptation over the ages to debase money is, I think it goes back to probably the ancient Sumerians. But as soon as at the point at which money was invented in any form, including in gold, there was the unavoidable temptation to debase the money supply. So when you think of any given money system, I sort of apply information theory to a money problem. Just think of it like it's an information system. You want to minimize noise, minimize latency, minimize packet loss, and so any inflation would be adding noise to the system. If the transaction rate, if what it takes to conclude a transaction is a long time, that adds latency to the system. Fraud is kind of like packet loss. So I guess I kind of think of money like I think of information moving on a network. Bandwidth, latency, jitter, which is the variance in latency, packet loss, those fundamental elements.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch how human beings, in this case the Fed, the words they say whip around markets, and there's just something not right about that. I mean, that's my point of view. I think our point of view, certainly on the crypto team. And Art Laffer, who was my professor in school, he's supply side, Austrian School of Economics. When he collaborated on our first Bitcoin paper in 2015, and after he got through reading it, he said, I've been waiting for this since they closed the gold window in 1971. I've been waiting for a new rules-based global monetary system.
Yeah.
And I think that's where our optimism comes from. This is truly rules-based. And so he's gotten more and more excited about it the more he's learned about it. So, anyway, back to convergence, though, and you're the maestro here. When I think of when we think of autonomous taxi platforms, robotaxi networks, and so forth. That's the convergence of three of the major platforms around which we have centered our research: robotics, energy storage, and artificial intelligence. Each one of those technologies, basically gearing up for or in the sweet spot of the S curve. And I sort of think it of S curves feeding S curves and creating the potential for explosive growth that no one is expecting. And Brett has just written a paper, it should come out in the next few weeks, around this topic. Just want to get your thoughts about that. And Brett, if you wanted to ask any questions specifically about that. But the bottom line from an economics point of view is we could see very surprising uptick, not just uptick, a step function up in real economic growth if these technologies are as big as we think they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the real economy is not money; it's goods and services.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was saying earlier, money is really just a database for resource allocation,
Mm-hmm.
and but if there are no resources to allocate, or if the actual goods and services output is fixed, then you can, I guess, try to allocate that same pie but more efficiently, but it's really not nearly as good as growing the pie.
Mm-hmm.
So growing the output of goods and services, productivity is really the thing that leads to prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously with robotics and AI, I think digital medicine through synthetic RNA, I think these things will just massively improve productivity. If you take the car as an example, and I think you understand this quite well, although not many people do, that if you've got, say, a passenger car, it will typically see 10 to 12 hours of usage, like maybe 1.5 hours a day over the course of 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 168 hours in a week, so it's really used for a very small percentage of the week normally. And then you've got to park it somewhere as well. So you've got parking costs, storage costs, maintenance costs, and all these costs associated with the car. And you're at 5 to 10% of asset utilization for a car.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas if you've got an autonomous vehicle, that same car, that costs basically about the same, could now, I think, be used as a rough approximation for about a third of the hours of the week, if you say like productive hours. Mm-hmm. And this is just, I think that's a conservative, but I think it's not far wrong. So if you say like it goes from say 10 hours a week to 50 hours a week out of 168 mm-hmm. of useful hours, that I think is not, it's not going to be exactly right, but I don't think it's far wrong. You now have the same asset being able to having 5 times the utility. Mm-hmm. So that is such a staggering leap of productivity. And if Tesla is able to do as I think we will be able to do, which is to upgrade the fleet, to make it autonomous, it will be the biggest step change in asset value in history. I think overnight.
We agree. We agree.
Right.
Can we stay on the X platform as a topic, Elon, but maybe take us a little bit more into the future about this super app opportunity? Will you become a financial platform? Identification is, and we're already seeing, you're still tipping, I think, on X, but are you going to turn into a financial platform, which is where you started your entrepreneurial journey many years ago? Is this still on the drawing board?
Yeah, absolutely. We're just waiting for the final approvals to come through for the money transmitter licenses. It's just taken longer than expected to get the money transmitter licenses.
Yes. So I did see you have 15 or so now, or is it more?
I think we actually have a majority of the states have approved us, but it's irrelevant until California and New York approve us.
I see. And are there any showstoppers, or it's just bureaucracy?
It's just, really just, I guess, bureaucracy. Things were obviously quite chaotic, especially for the first few months. So it's not entirely their fault. We were a bit late in submitting our money transmitter licenses, and I essentially thought we had done it, but we had not done it until around the middle of this year. So I think we'll probably get our approvals early next year, and so I would expect payments to roll out. I would be surprised if if it takes us longer than the middle of next year to roll out payments. So I'm not aware of any showstoppers. Just kind of working through the system.
이것으로 일론 머스크가 최근 캐시 우드와 인터뷰에서 밝힌 인공지능의 진화와 2024년의 가능성에 대한 깊은 인터뷰를 마치게요. 비트코인의 흥미로운 역학관계를 살펴봤습니다. 테슬라의 전략은 획기적인 것이었죠. 암호화폐, 특히 비트코인에 대한 머스크의 견해가 테슬라의 중요한 투자 이후 변화한 걸 볼 수 있어요. 트위터의 재정적 변화에 도지코인을 접목할 가능성을 고려하면요. 머스크의 계획에는 또 다른 음모가 숨어 있죠. 영상이 도움이 되셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 크립토7이었습니다.